So, seen any good moves lately? Welcome back to episode number 6 of Seeing Good Moves Lately. I am your host, Joey Olberding, but I am not the only Olberding. It's true. And I have proof. I have proof right here in front of me. And that would be my brother, Greg, some may call him, who is here and he is going to talk about Survivor with me on episode 6 of Survivor 50. Seeing Any Good Moves Lately. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. I'm thrilled to be back on See Any Good Moves lately. Longtime viewers may remember me. I have been on at least once the last 2 seasons. I think just once the last 2 seasons. And it's always a fun time. It's fun to talk about Survivor. I um, am not as enmeshed in the community as Joey is and as many of you are, but I do still do my fair share of thinking about Survivor and consuming content and whatnot. And it's always fun to really dig deep, as it were.
Very, very true. Well, look, we're going to dig deep into this episode for sure. And one of the big questions I have for you, Greg, is very simple, and that is just it is Survivor. It is in the hands of the fans. Me, you, clearly, this is all what we wanted. So I have to ask you, Greg, what are your thoughts on the season so far?
Joey, I'm liking it. Of course, I'm liking it. I mean, it's season 50. It's the biggest season ever, as we've been reminded a million times. And it's amazing seeing all of these players that I love so well all play together. That said, I also have found this to be a frustrating season in some ways, and in ways that I think I'm not the only one to have my frustrations with season 50 so far. So I'm optimistic that that especially the end game, when we really have some creme de la creme players truly going at it with each other, and there's maybe some more room for them to play
Mhm.
unencumbered by the twists and turns of production. I'm optimistic that this season could be really great, even still, but for now, I'm feeling ambivalent.
Yeah, and I think that's I feel pretty similarly, which is unfortunate because I think up until this past episode, I was very high on the season, about as high as one could be with all the twists and turns and things like that. But for whatever reason, this episode, I mean, it did what it wanted to do. It wanted to be crazy. It wanted to do wild things. Three people did in fact go home, but at the end of the day, I feel a deep disappointment within my heart and within my soul. Um, and we'll get into it. We'll get into it. But before we can talk about this current episode, we need to talk about the past episode. The episode before this, it feels so long ago now, but
That was
Char- yeah, Charles,
before the previous episode. There were 5 more people in the game than there are now.
I know it's crazy, but Angelina and Charlie did end up going home. What did you think about that? Where was your head at after all that? Was the right move made in terms of getting rid of Charlie, getting rid of Angelina? What do you think about all that?
I mean, it's hard to say if it was the right move or not at this point. I felt like the writing was definitely on the wall for Angelina. She had been such a big character in David versus Goliath, and so visible and always talking to the camera and saying something goofy, and like, just, I mean, in that season she was one of the greatest Survivor characters of all time, and that's why they brought her back. And I think
Mhm.
everybody was really hopeful and optimistic about what that might mean for her to return, but she just got no screen time. She was totally invisible. I can't even recall a single thing that she said all season. She didn't have a moment other than when she got voted out, calling back to that infamous Natalie, is there any way I could have
Yeah.
your jacket moment, in which, it got the little guffaw out of me, like, oh, that's awesome. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, that is a hollow gesture toward her previous season.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it with some people on here in the past, but my perspective is sort of like this. My thoughts on this do not extend to the rest of the season, but I think for Angelina specifically, it was like she just wasn't that interesting on the show this season. And I think there are plenty of women on this season who are far more interesting, who have just as few confessionals in the long run.
Yeah,
But Angelina, I do not think applies to that because I think what we saw from her was the most I can remember and the most you can remember is her recycling her bits, which I'm a person who loves to recycle a bit. It's true. But,
yeah,
she didn't do it with passion. And I would never recycle a bit without passion, personally.
yep,
But
yep.
yeah. And,
So
and
I agree. It didn't seem like she was important to the storyline
no,
either. You
no.
know, it makes sense why she might have gotten somewhat smaller of an edit. I'm sure we will get into as we progress through this episode the way that women have been under edited on 50 so far, but I agree with you that it seems justifiable in her case.
Yeah, for sure. And then Charlie, I mean, Charlie, I think I was kind of surprised that he went home at the end of the day. Not too upset about it personally, but I think Rizzo, from what we were told, being able to sort of pull that move against Charlie, I think was very impressive. And like this speaks to something that I'll just mention is that so far, I until this episode, I've been totally fine with the boot order. There's been nobody that I've been like, dang, I can't believe they're out. Like Q's the closest, but like I didn't expect Q to go far. So
Right.
like I'll give it up. So I was fine with Charlie going, but yeah,
I agree. I mean, Q got plenty of screen time in his limited tenure. Um, and I agree about Charlie. I'm not heartbroken about him going. He in his previous season had been sort of a game bot. I found him boring to watch, even though in some of these ways that you could point to, he might have had a pretty impressive game and arguably should have won.
yeah,
Um, I didn't find him particularly interesting to watch. This time he was a one note character, and I'm
for
again
sure.
just thinking about it as a character. He was out for revenge, or maybe like what's the word? Not revenge, but uh,
Spite, you know,
yeah, yeah. He was spiteful toward Maria for the way that she did him dirty at Final Tribal in his previous season, and he
yeah.
decided to take that out on Rizzo, I guess.
Rizzo reminded him of her. He had the same fire in his eyes.
That was Kenzie. That was okay.
Oh, my bad, my
Right.
bad. But yeah, no, I think it's true, and part of that I'm sure is just the edit. I mean, you got 24 people. I know it's 90-minute episodes, but there's no Survivor season that's ever happened where you can make every single person seem like a person. At the end of the day, a lot of them are going to be characters. Winners at War, last All Returnee season, like Wendell sort of became like just like a weird like villain who is not sort of like the Wendell we saw in Ghost Island, which
Yeah.
to be fair was not necessarily that interesting either, but was more of a person because he was the main character essentially.
Yep.
But yeah, that's interesting. But I do think the word that you use is true, which is you have to view it from the lens of characters.
Yes.
And I try to I try to remind myself of that all the time. And this is an especially interesting thing to talk about with you because you and I, for the most part, we have gone on this survivor journey together. We've watched all these seasons together, virtually through a WhatsApp chat, whatever, but we have seen these seasons together. And so I kind of know your thoughts on a lot of contestants. You know my thoughts on a lot of contestants, but I think it'll be interesting once we start talking about this to see how maybe our thoughts have changed on some of these contestants.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, the memory of watching a season can be very different from the experience of actually watching it too.
yes, that is true. That is true. I mean, we're only halfway through the season. Like, I know I try to stay away from all of the like very reactionary, like this is the worst season ever stuff, but I see it.
Mhm.
And part of me is like, look, I get being upset that like that Tiffany has gotten no confessionals, but she also hasn't been to tribal council. We saw this last season with Yellow Sophie, whatever her last name was. Like
Right.
sometimes people just won't get confessionals for a while. Genevieve in her first season was like that. She got no confessionals, and
And
then
then
she
and then
boom.
they wake up. I mean, Genevieve like activated one episode and was
Yeah.
just like, I am playing the game now. And then she was a main character. Or yeah, I mean, yeah, Sophie, not Belardi, the other Sophie from
Sophie too. Yeah.
she's a good example because I thought she was getting purpled, and then she actually turned out to be a pretty important character in the post merge.
To such an extent that I was scratching my head, like, aren't you supposed to like go home soon? Like, I feel like we haven't seen enough of you, and then she just stuck around for a while. So,
Yep.
yeah. All right, well, let's start getting into the episode here. And look, this is the merge episode. I didn't know really anything about this going in. I knew that it was gonna be a crazy episode. That's all I knew. All I knew was crazy episode. And of course, it starts off with a merge at 17 people, which is already pretty insane. What are your thoughts on that, Greg?
I mean, 24-person season, it was inevitable that something like this was going to happen. Still, even merging at 17 people, that is absurd. I mean,
Yeah.
for example, they only swapped tribes like 2 episodes ago,
Yeah, it
and
wasn't long ago.
we really had almost no time to sit with the new tribe divisions. And I certainly don't think there was any rush to merge from that perspective. I mean, even a triple tribal council, a triple elimination, you could have done that. I mean, and I understand they're trying to eliminate 24 players or rather 21 players in 29 days or 25. How many?
26. Yeah.
26 days. Basic Survivor trivia, I should know. I know that they're going to have to pull some stuff. I mean, that or hope that Kyle and Colby and whoever else just continue to get medevac.
Just die. Yeah.
Give them the most dangerous challenges they possibly can. Try to just weed people out on their own.
Yeah, like the cliff jumping challenge in Australian outback, but no water. It's just cliff.
Yeah. Just Survivor contestants just going splat on the Fijian beach. Yeah, that would be a way to weed it out, and then it would be like
and then the reward could be like steaks on a skewer. You get medevac that way too.
Oh yeah, Joe Corong.
Yeah. Joe Del Campo, what a legend.
Good reference there.
But yeah, no, I think that I agree with you. Look, I'm not a fan of big merges in general. I think most of the time they are just not fun. Like it's fun theoretically, like, oh my god, all these people get to interact. Rizzo's interacting with Coach, especially on like season 50. It's like that sounds cool, but at the same time, it's like, for instance, in this episode, so much is going on. We didn't even get into any dynamics of like, oh dang, Dee and Emily are on the same tribe again. Like we didn't get that at all.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like the way I would have done it if I were Jeff Probst himself was I just wouldn't have done anything. I just kind of would have kept it the same and not forced these people together. I would have been like, one person wins immunity, everyone else is going to tribal, you merge after this. It does the same thing.
So you would have done a mergatory?
No, not even. I wouldn't have put them on the same beach. I just would have brought all three tribes together, been like, Charlie, Angelina voted out at the last tribal. By the way, you like the fact that 2 tribes went to tribal council. Now we're doing 3. 1 person from each tribe wins immunity. Good luck.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That I agree with. Like, if they were going to do a triple elimination, why not just do that? Why not just do it 1 from each of our existing swapped tribes? Because as it stands, I mean, it was totally random, the groups of people who went to tribal council, and that's just not fun. Or the way that it panned out, it just wasn't fun.
Yeah. I mean, part of it is probably luck at the end of the day, having our collective favorites in the ether, get screwed over is not fun, but it's not fun to see any contestant get screwed over. I've been against not swaps necessarily, but I've been against these split tribal councils ever since the first one, Michelle
Mhm.
Yee and Survivor Fiji. I was against it then. I'm against it now, and the fact that it's become a staple has greatly annoyed me over time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't allow Survivor players to actually take advantage of the good, social game that they might have already played or the good strategic game. It just takes all of that stuff out of it in a
Yeah,
really unexpected way, and, I mean, the fact that they just had to go back and scramble for a couple of hours with a group of people who they might not even know yet, uh, as opposed to like, there's an argument to be said that like swaps themselves are fine because okay, at least then there's a camp life after that,
sure.
and like new alliances or alignments can occur. But with a challenge like this where it's just random and it's immediate and everybody, I mean, yeah, people get screwed over in ways that it seems like there was no possible way they could have prepared for it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and to even add on to this, just in a different way. I mean, you talk about, there's the one swap 2 episodes ago, and I get it. It's 26 days. It's you gotta fit all this stuff and you gotta cram it in. But like Survivor All Stars had 2 swaps. That was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
Like, if you're gonna do that, just do it. And it feels like they didn't want to commit either way. And they just went with the excuse like we're doing something we've never done before, even though all they really did was just add another tribe on top of what they do like every other
right.
New Era
Yeah,
season.
it was another swap that only lasted a couple of hours, but had these profound implications.
Yeah,
And like, what's the fun in that? Swap from 3 to 2. I mean,
I
make it
would
a
love that.
gradual thing.
That'd be fun. That'd be
That
so
would
fun.
that would be fun.
I was here's what I was hoping for when they did it when I saw like the basic gist of hey we're merging at 17 people last episode. I was like, this is the perfect time to pull out a fake merge, and
Mhm.
that's essentially what this was. Honestly, it was a fake merge, but like do the full like everyone gets a feast, but we're not saying you're merged yet, and see how that goes, and then be like, by the way, you're going back to your original tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not the showrunner. I've never claimed to be, so whatever.
Yeah, and another thing that occurs to me is you have to go from the perspective of like the producers don't know how these tribes are going to get divided up, assuming it is actually random and they weren't just like, oh, let's fuck over Genevieve today.
Sure, sure.
Um, like I assume it actually was random, and they don't know how that's going to go, but and maybe it went like the worst way it could have gone in terms of the boot order or whatever. I'm sure there's ways that someone can think of where it could have gotten worse, but they don't necessarily know how those things are going to pan out either. So I have to look at it from the perspective of not like what actually happened, but what had the potential of happening. But I don't really see a scenario where this kind of merge did anything like interesting or fun for the game.
At best, it does the exact same thing that a giant merge would do, which is you weed out the people who would have been consensus targets anyway.
Yep.
You know, and I don't even know who that would be on this season because we didn't really get an opportunity to see who that would be.
Well, so an interesting thing that happened to that point is after the merge, but before they went to tribal council, we had this scramble for an advantage, right?
Yes, yes,
Um, and I think that was like getting at the right thing, introduce chaos. Like 17 people is always going to be chaotic. Introduce a little bit of chaos right off the bat. Um, give some opportunities for people to show off their personality as they go and like run through the jungle. Uh, and that happened, and we had that great moment where Rizzo was like walking calmly through the jungle, like,
Uh,
I'm not gonna scramble. I'm just gonna like, what are the odds that I find it? And then he's like looking around and seemingly like looking a bit more intently than some others, and then he just walks right past the advantage.
yeah, there's a great history of survivor advantage scrambles. Like the one that comes to my mind when you talk about that is Kagayan when Wu was running around looking for stuff and everyone's looking for this advantage. Another one that comes to mind is something that is Winners at War, where they're all looking for the fire tokens on the edge of extinction. I think that's pretty fun. And
Yeah,
then even if it's not necessarily like there's an advantage hidden go, like I think about Survivor Samoa when I think it was as Dave Ball was chasing down Russell Hantz as he was looking for an idol, and he still managed to find one without a clue. So it's crazy.
Danger Dave.
Um, but no, I think it's Eric Cardonia. Maybe it was both. I don't know. One of the legends on Galu, I think was that tribe's name. Who's to say?
Who's to say?
Regardless, it was pretty fun, and I do think in general this is probably the most fun part of the episode, in my opinion.
For sure, because you are also starting to have these like spontaneous interactions between people. I mean, so far there hasn't been anything that seemed like super like this is going to be very important, but
Yeah,
I think like D was trying to get Emily on her side or something like that, and
yeah,
there were a few of those like, oh, that would be an interesting alliance, and yeah, and then this scramble, and Ozzy, of course, ends up finding it. Uh, and why I thought of this was your point about what would be a consensus boot right now. And Ozzy, I mean, let's give credit where credit's due. Like he really has stepped up his strategic game by a lot this season.
hmm
And I thought his thought process was excellent in terms of how he decided who he was going to bring with him to Exile Island. He said,
for sure.
and I think this was probably Christian's idea, was the sense that I got.
Mhm.
But regardless, he at least took the advice. He said, "How about I choose somebody who people are not going to be worried that it's because I want to work with them, but they're also not going to be worried that it's because I don't want to work with them."
Yeah,
uh, who's somebody who people would have neither suspicion about, and he ends up choosing the Rizgod Rizgod himself,
baby.
uh, who nobody has seen actually play before.
Yeah.
Um, now, do you think, or are we told, is Ozzy aware that Rizzo is sort of a mutual ally when he makes this decision?
Yes, he does because I think Sari briefed him on it at some
Mhm.
point. Is what he says to Rizzo on Exile Island. Is he says Rizzo tells me that you're solid, so I know you're solid, and then they kind of lock in an unofficial three
Mhm.
um, there. So I assume that if he's making that decision, he knows that information beforehand. I think it'd be weird if he's like, I'm choosing Rizzo, and then Sari's like, oh, by the way, he's really cool, So that would be my strong assumption. But yeah,
Well, Rizzo, especially just coming off of this kind of showdown with Charlie where Rizzo won, I think it's very possible that Rizzo could have been some kind of a consensus boot in the event of a merged tribe. I mean, on the other hand, he was allies with Sari, and Sari has a way of taking the target off anybody she wants. But I think for the him being on 49 alone of it all, that he very well could have been that person,
yeah,
um, or on one of the semi-swapped like tribal council groups that ended up being formed, and he ended up being safe. So um, from that perspective as well, I think that if in any way production's idea with that advantage was let's remove somebody from the pool who would be a consensus boot, then they succeeded.
yeah. No, I think that's very true, and I think I like to think that Rizzo probably would have been fine. I think if Rizzo would have gone home, it would have been. I think it could have been a while ago, but I think he has an idol now. I'd like to think he actually knows when to use it, but I mean, he hasn't had to. He didn't have to on 49, so it's really impossible to say.
Yeah.
Um, and he's well integrated with Suri, and he's also well integrated with D, who I am very high on this season, as we will get into. But yeah, I know the thing that I liked about this and why I thought it was the most fun is just the comedicness of it all. You know, Rizzo just kind of walking around, and Ozzy also, for what it's worth, basically just looking around, finds it, and is like, awesome, an advantage. I just hope I don't get sent to Exile Island. And then
Wah, wah, wah.
it's immediately what happens. And I appreciate the confessional he happens where he just looks at the camera and goes, "Yep." It's just, you know, it's fun, and it's not the type of thing that we'd see from Ozzy normally.
No,
So yeah,
no, and the man has spent a lot of time on Exile Island and whatever whatever it was called in South Pacific when he had to battle his way
Redemption
back.
Island. Yeah.
Redemption Island, of course. And how could I forget? And he just can't catch a break there. But I don't know. I think that he and Rizzo must have suspected, and it sort of did come up that they knew we're probably missing at least one tribal council.
Mhm.
And I don't think they're going to be too shocked when they come back and they learn that there were 3 eliminations.
Now it does make you wonder, like if you're one of these two on this beach and you come back and you hear Colby is gone and Genevieve is gone and Camilla is gone. Are you truly shocked by any of those? Like, or are you as shocked by those as you would be if anybody else went home?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head who has been on a tribe already with whom,
Sure,
but
sure. But even beyond all that, just like what you would imagine someone's threat level would be or whatever else, like is Rizzo going to be so upset that his dad Colby's gone, or is he going to be like, "Yep, that's the game," you know? That's
oh,
what happens.
definitely the latter, and especially, I mean, knowing as everybody did that Colby was injured, uh,
Yeah.
I'm sure that won't be a shock. Genevieve, obviously a threatening player. I mean, everybody knew it,
Hmm.
and
And Camilla, yeah.
Camilla's one of those. I mean, getting back into this point about women on this season, who I think Camilla was very much under edited compared to what she might have offered. Um,
Yeah.
because I really like Camilla from a character perspective, and I like her gameplay too. And I I was really excited from this season to see her play in an environment where she did not have a Kyle that was kind of defining her narrative.
Yeah.
Um, and as much as I like Kyle and as much as I was impressed with his performance in episode 1, I was also not too unhappy about his medevac just for Camilla's sake. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think they ever should have cast previous winners on this season. I just think that is a I mean, 3 previous winners out of 24. It just doesn't make sense to me. Um, but so I was excited to see Camilla. Well, in the end, she didn't get much airtime. She was not particularly important to the thrust of the season. It doesn't seem. I mean, maybe something will be revealed, but it seems like she never really played a major role, and I highly doubt she'll be back. Frankly,
Yeah, and that's definitely unfortunate because, I don't think there's any winning, but I think, Camilla is definitely one of the best confessionalists, I think, of this
Mhm.
entire cast. And that's really saying something. Like that's
Yeah.
really saying something. She's great at puzzles. She's very smart. She's good in challenges.
Mhm.
Um, and that she's a great social player. I mean, at least from what we saw in 48, she immediately made allies in this season. Um, but also maybe that's just the nature of the competition you face. But I mean, like comparatively to like Ozzy and Rizzo, we've been getting so much of their content so much that it does feel a little it drowns you a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean but that being said, like I've enjoyed Ozzy a lot on this season, for instance, like more than I expected to going in.
Oh, 100%. I mean, he's exceeded every expectation I had for him in terms of his from a character perspective, just his likability. I
Yeah,
never liked Ozzy before. I thought he was so full of himself and like he had so little to actually justify it other than like, ooh, I can catch fish. He actually has adapted to the new era in a meaningful way, and
yeah,
he's still himself. He's still got the same personality, but he's much more humble, and he's he's decided that he needs to adapt to the game rather than having the game adapt to him, which seemed like it was always how he played before.
yeah. And I like that his version of adapting to the game is being like, I'll let Tari do
Mm.
it. Which is pretty smart, honestly. You know,
I mean,
good for him. Yeah,
like if I could align with Suri, I would in a heartbeat, you know?
yeah. No, it's good, and I feel similarly. I'll say this, like I've probably been more entertained by Ozzy than you are, and I appreciate Ozzy more through the years. But more in just like a character way. This is an interesting character on television because like Coach, he in his previous seasons has been egotistical, very full of himself. Um, More synonyms, but like can back it up enough so that you're like, all right, maybe this guy's actually pretty good at this. Like
Yeah,
Coach made it to the end, Ozzy made it to the end, you know.
yeah,
But in the past, it's just been Ozzy being like, yeah, I'm just gonna win challenges and catch fish, and like I should win because of that.
yep,
And now it's like I love catching fish. Catching fish is fun, and I'm really bad at Survivor, but I'm here, which is basically what he's saying. So I like that. It's fun
yeah. But also he is playing. I mean,
for
he's
sure.
not passively like falling backwards through it. You know, he's just he's still himself. He knows what he doesn't know and what he's not good at. He's making an effort to actually try out the strategic piece, which I think we got morsels of in South Pacific. But
Yeah. Basically, it's a new and improved Ozzy. It's an Oscar. It's an Oscar.
yep,
And it's also funny, just going back to what I see before me, which is Ozzy and Rizzo on one screen. The difference between Ozzy, this guy who feels like he's grown quite a bit in life, versus Rizzo, who literally just got off the island like a few weeks ago and is back here. And
yep.
he's basically playing the same game, but it's just with a bunch of people who are like, I get this guy. And then they eventually are like, this Rizzo guy's awesome,
I
which is
mean,
really fun.
it's really funny to see everybody on 50 go through the exact progression that all of America did with Rizzo in
Hmm.
49, which
Yes.
was at the beginning, oh my God, who is this little motherfucker? Oh, I'm the Riz God, and like spelling that out, and like he's, oh my God, this is like everything that's wrong with Gen Z. Like this guy's gonna suck. And of course, those of us who were more tapped in, who knew that he was going to be on 50, like we were like, is he just going to be a coach like figure during his first season at least, where he's a ridiculous character, and that's why, or an Angelina, and that's why they
Yeah.
bring him back.
Hmm.
Um, and it turned out, oh no, like he does play this like kind of cocky game, but he's got a good social barometer, and he knows how to get advantages, and he can play. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
And he's likable too. And
It's yeah.
well, I was gonna say, and like every moment of of cockiness that you see out of him, which you definitely do see, is counterbalanced by this moment of like humility and gratitude. I mean, shouting out Albania, Yonkers, New York, you know, like he like how can you not like this guy?
That's exactly what I was gonna say, is he has a really fun, uh, like, dichotomy about him where he's both this like super cocky, almost a game body player who's like, I'm here to win, I'll do whatever, I want to be called one of the best. Meanwhile, it's coming from like this really scrawny looking guy who looks like he's barely been outside ever. And this is me saying that.
Mhm.
And who, it's fun. It's fun that Survivor can have a guy like that who's actually good at Survivor and acts the way Rizzo does. Cause like the closest he's like if Jelinski was good at Survivor, it's that sort of thing.
Yes, I feel like when they cast Jelinski, they were hoping for Rizzo, or
Yeah.
maybe when they cast Rizzo, they were thinking he was going to be another Jelinski. I don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
The
Um,
other thing about Rizzo that I find not really about Rizzo, but about Rizzo's game that I find really interesting is that Sari has so much implicit trust in him. Sari, who has not seen him play before, who has had to rely on her instincts about these things in the past, although maybe not since really her first season, Exile Island, has she had to rely totally um, on the impression that she gets from the person on the beach rather than what she's seen on television.
yeah.
But um, but the fact that she is so 100% in with Rizzo, I mean, I almost am wondering if Sari is underestimating how strategic or how cutthroat of a game Rizzo could possibly play.
It's a good question. And it's a good point. I think Rizzo, I don't know what it is, but I think he has a very good ability to get people to trust him.
Yeah.
Like I'm just thinking about through the season so far and in 49 as well. Like, especially in 49, I can't think of any situation where people are like, oh, I can't trust Rizzo. I
Mhm.
think most of the lack of trust was I don't trust Savannah and she's number ones with Rizzo.
Yeah.
And even in this season, it's like, who is the one person who's like, man, I can't trust Rizzo? It was Charlie, and he was definitely forcing it. Um, all the hate on Rizzo is forced. It's either because he has fire in his eyes or because you haven't seen him play before. But nothing of it seems very like personal, if that makes sense.
And on the Charlie thing, I mean, I don't know how closely you follow the exit press and stuff. I really don't.
Yeah, I'll see the highlights
Yeah,
usually, but
I'll occasionally listen to like the Rob Sesternino interview or whatever, but apparently Charlie was saying things like, "Oh, they didn't show it, but I actually had more reasons than just spite why I
sure.
was targeting Rizzo." And
And I believe that, but I mean,
sure,
you,
man.
you go through your voting confessional and you say this is for saying that you didn't vote for your number one, which I think was a lie as well. It might have been a lie. I don't know. Um, you reap what you sow, man. I mean, you put it out there.
It's
Like,
gonna be really interesting when Charlie watches 49. Uh,
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure he has by now, but like,
mhm.
but to see actually the reality there, which was Rizzo and Savannah were also super tight, and Sophie objectively played a worse game than Savannah did, especially in the post merge. Like Rizzo was not like screwing his number one over the way that Maria had in the slightest.
It was a big assumption by on Charlie's part for sure.
He
Yeah.
just he just his fight or flight, his fight or flight went up when he heard that, and he like lost the ability to think about it rationally, and he paid the price.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, his eyes got fiery when he heard that. There was fire in his eyes. Um,
Shut up.
but no, seriously, I wonder if he sat at home like going stupid, 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 or was screaming into his Eras Tour pillow or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but
I'm sure Rizzo seemed like a good person to target, and he just lost. And I think, I mean, yeah, I don't think Charlie had the stiffest competition on his season strategically. So
not at all, not at all. I don't even. I guess Kenzie would be the biggest, and she won. So I mean, I
Kenzie
can't.
won, but I think she played a primarily social game.
For sure. For
And
sure.
I'm not to imply at all that that is a less legitimate way of winning, but Charlie's whole thing is being a strategic mind, and
Yeah.
I think he was really Maria was the only one who was at all in his ballpark there.
Probably. Yeah. Well, hey, a lot of strategy did happen this episode.
Mhm.
Not just the strategy of the Riz God or the Oscar. Um, there were not one, not two, but three tribal councils here this episode, and it all came at the crux of the Great Blood Moon Challenge. The old put your feet against the pegs and try not to die challenge.
Yep, the
Um,
chimney sweep, I believe they call it.
Chimney sweep. I that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Um, and you know what? This reward is for a few things. Not only is it the chance to win immunity, it is also the chance to make sure that you have a spot on the jury if you make it through, and then also a lot of Applebee's, like so much.
I think the menu that they brought out is bigger than the actual Applebee's menu.
I think so. I think so. I If I can get a shark bowl at my nearest Applebee's 2 miles from here, then it's not something I'm aware of. But I don't know. Um, here's my question for you, Greg. Um, did Survivor fall too hard into the meme of Applebee's with Liz? Did they see the Liz like I'm pissed outrage and be like, man, when we get Applebee's back, everyone's gonna love it if we like really ham it up because like everyone loves Applebee's. I don't
Joey,
know.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
was do you know that web comic where it's like people talking about the meme and then a brand comes in and then people
yes,
are like, "Oh, the brand is here." And then another brand comes in and then it's all the brands just talking to each other while all the people leave.
yes, yes, for sure.
Um, that's kind of how it feels. Like the whole point of the Applebee's meme, guys, is that Survivor is not in on the joke.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Or if it is in on the joke, it's in a completely a post-ironic way that we can't even conceive of. Like they're them even airing the confessional of Karishma being like Applebee's is by far my favorite sit-down restaurant is in itself a joke against Survivor. But I don't think they were that hyper aware.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I think they could have gotten by with a little wink, you know, a little something something. I can't really wink, but instead they were like, "Guys, it's Applebee's."
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, exactly. Much like that as you keep doing. Um and the thing about these things is that they're always better when you just play them straight because either you get like a complete disaster that's hilarious to look back on, like Jack and Jill,
Mhm.
my favorite reward ever, or Gulliver's Travels, or you get something that's legitimately kind of cool, even if it is branded. Like, I don't know, I remember in Survivor Palau, they went to like a jellyfish like reef, and then they had Pringles with Survivor questions on them. It's fun.
I
It's
forgot about
branded, but it's
the
cool. Or
jellyfish Pringles reward. Yeah, that
yes, or Home Depot building a shelter to win Home Depot supplies.
yeah, like I don't mind a tasteful amount of product placement.
Yeah,
The Applebee's thing, it doesn't even really bother me uh, on the micro level when they have like an Applebee's reward and they go to the sanctuary and they eat Applebee's. Like, sure, like
sure.
whatever.
Yeah,
I'm sure that that is palatable food when you've been starving for 12 days or whatever. Doesn't bother me, but yes, they leaned way too hard into it, and it happens to be because of Liz Wilcox, who somehow had this like deep emotional attachment to Applebee's. And also I have my complaints on the macro level of like, why don't they do interesting rewards anymore? You know,
sure, sure.
whatever.
Well,
Uh,
your interesting reward is Zach Brown. So I mean, take
I
it or
know,
leave it.
I know. I was gonna say like, careful what you wish for, because
Yeah,
yeah, I we don't have to rehash that whole thing, but
I think my main problem with it is I don't even mind necessarily Jeff Probst coming out and talking about the Applebee's menu for 3 minutes because, like, sometimes that happens on rewards. Like sometimes you'll be in the Australian outback and Jeff will be like, everybody try this one Dorito and this little cup of Mountain Dew. And then we spend 3 minutes being like, wow, Doritos are so good.
Mhm.
It happens. Survivor has done that in the past. My problem is this is during your blood moon. This is
Yeah.
completely interrupting whatever type of tension you are trying to bring. Um, and you're not leaving room for me to understand what the heck is going on. Like there's a decent amount of that. Like I understand why all three people went home, but I could have known more.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
or we could have even just, like, gotten some camp life, or, like, seen a little bit more of Ozzy and Rizzo. I mean, there's so much that you can do with the edit. They could have given Chrissy another confessional, like, I guess she actually was sort of more visible this episode than she had been, but
But I mean there were other people for sure. Like give me, Genevieve's about to go home and she's about to get screwed over. Give me your final thoughts,
yeah.
give me all that.
Honestly, they probably had nothing they could use from Genevieve because I think she was probably just railing against the fact that she got split randomly onto this tribe, not a tribe, this group that was
Yes.
3 out of 5 against her, and she couldn't use either of the idols that she had previously found.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And it's stupid, but it's the nature of the beast. And I mean, hey, if we're gonna get to stupid, I mean, we're gonna talk about these quote unquote tribes and who won them, and let's start getting into these mini tribal councils and start talking about what happened. So
mhm.
we have this challenge, we have this classic challenge, and let's just go through the groups one by one, starting with the first one, the orange one, which is consisting of Jonathan, Stephanie, Tiffany, Camilla, and Chrissy. Chrissy and Stephanie, by the way, are wearing like the exact same shirt. I'm just making note of that. So look, this is our dynamic, and immediately it's
By the way, it's the uniform of Republican New Jersey women who have moved to Florida, because I'm pretty sure that describes both of them.
that what I can't fact check you on that, but that sounds right to me. Um, yeah, from my perspective, it's like, but when you see something like this, it's like to me, it's like whoever doesn't win between Camilla or Tiffany is going home. Like if Tiffany wins, Camilla's going home. If Camilla wins, Tiffany's going home. And it just so happened that neither of them won. Um,
Well, I mean, yes, looking at this group in a vacuum, but going into this, Jonathan was an ally of Camilla and Tiffany.
yeah. No, you're right. I mean, knowing now what I know, I guess it's easy for me to say that. But
Yeah,
I just look when it comes to Survivor. I think at the end of the day, as many people will say who have played Survivor, the easiest way to trust someone is to be on the same wavelength as them. And as
cut from the
Chrissy
same cloth.
yes, as Chrissy rightfully pointed out in two ways. Not only are Jonathan, Stephanie, and Chrissy cut from the same cloth. Curious what that means. Um, she's right in saying to Jonathan that there's no way Tiffany or Camilla would vote for you to win at the end. She
Yeah,
was right on both those fronts.
yeah.
So, I mean, you know,
I mean, like, this is the Chrissy that I was hoping to see when
mhm,
she got cast on this season, because to me, she's very much like Charlie, where, like, she narrowly lost her first season. She seemingly might have had something more left to give, that just the competition wasn't that strong on her season.
yeah,
And also, she is a strategic player who kind of struggles in the social department.
yeah,
Actually, I mean, she struggles much, much more than Charlie. That's maybe
yeah.
even unfair to Charlie to say, but
But
um,
your point is valid, especially in the sense of like I think now that we're at the merge, we're finally seeing like why. Chrissy made the end of Heroes versus Healers versus Hustlers, which is, hey, she got past the pre-merge, she got past the part where she was, as I recall, she was a target a lot of the time through HHVH, Greg.
HVH.
Yes. And then when she hits the merge, it's like, okay, well, she's not a threat because no one likes her, but she's also very strategic. So it's like she can still control the game.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, in a sort of macro sense, like if Chrissy plays the exact same game and makes it to the end again, is she going to lose again just by virtue of, hey, some two other people are going to be at the end who aren't Chrissy? I don't know. I think it's possible. I could see this being like a Spencer thing in Caramoan, where, or not Caramoan, in a Second Chance, where it's like, you know, you learn to become human, you have your emotional confessional about how you're learning how to be social, and then you get to the end and you just lose.
Yeah.
Like, I could see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think her best shot would be bring somebody with her who's part of one alliance, bring somebody else who's part of another alliance, be the lesser of two evils for everybody.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
valid. I mean, it's worked. It's worked. And meanwhile, the other people here, it's interesting because I feel like this is kind of the Invisi group. Like Chrissy has been so invisible. Stephanie's been pretty
Everybody,
invisible.
everybody, everybody in this group has been under edited.
Camilla, and even Jonathan. I mean, Jonathan's gotten a fair amount of screen time, but it's like, he's still basically, he can say he's being strategic, but from my perspective, it's like, oh, that's challenge man. That's man who does challenge.
Jonathan's confessional count has actually been quite low.
Really?
I think this episode he had a lot, and this episode I believe he had. I want to say he was tied for the most this episode. I could consult my data, but I mean, it feels like we see more of him because he is such a presence in the challenges, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Tiffany until this episode had two confessionals for the entire season.
That sounds right to me. Yeah.
Talk about purple. I mean, Zach Brown had lapped her in terms of the number of confessionals.
Yeah.
And then the next episode she had gotten 0, so she didn't even cut into the lead. Yeah, you're right. This is the Invisi group. But I think they also had the most interesting dynamic going on, which is Jonathan has supposedly previously had some kind of alignment with Tiffany and Camilla, who would seem like his adversaries in this case.
Sure.
Our light blue tank top duo is trying to bring in Jonathan because they're all cut from the same cloth, which
whatever that means.
I will honestly, I feel like the reading of that has been kind of
sure.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Not even misconstrued, exaggerated, probably, right?
Yeah, or it's been ungenerous. Like, I actually think that it's just that they are all old school players in spirit, if not in
life. Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I know. I think that's valid. I think that's true. Probably. It does feel kind of funny in a macro sense that, like, okay, yeah, that's true that in the game it's old school versus new school, but also you're definitely getting a political spectrum divide here as well.
Yes. And I mean, elephant in the room, a racial divide as well.
That's also true. Yeah. But also, I mean, like, that's Survivor. That's why I like it. I don't like this. I don't like that, but I think it makes for interesting television, and it's an interesting sort of like microcosm of society, which is what the show's always been about, even if it feels like it's not sometimes. At the end of the day, these are social dynamics, and social dynamics are greatly influenced for how you get along with people, by economic status, by race, by political identity, by what part of the country you're from, by whether or not you're married to an MLB pitcher, stuff like that.
Survivor becomes this microcosm of the society, and it turns out that Jonathan is quite a malleable guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's both white and he has dreads. I mean, it's like the Dumbledore thing. He doesn't really have dreads. I just said that.
No, but
But
spiritually he does.
spiritually, he definitely does. Um, but regardless, I think that it's a really interesting position because Jonathan has no real allegiance to Stephanie or Chrissy. I don't even know if he's interacted with either of them before this particular episode. But I'll give the credit to Chrissy here. I think that she just made a very good argument.
And that's
I
what she does.
Yeah.
Chrissy is smart. She is
Yes.
really smart. And
Yes.
she knows how to construct that argument that it's maybe she's not a good social player, so it's not that the argument is catered to the person. It's that it's actually you just can't argue with it.
Sure. Yeah. And
Like
if you are arguing it, it's so easy for Christy to say, well, why are you saying that? You know, it's not true.
right.
And boom, there you go.
And that's part of her like her kind of brashness that makes people not like her is also what makes her so convincing. So she's a really interesting player, and I am excited to see where she goes from here.
Yeah. It's also interesting just going back to our blue shirt duo. Like Chrissy this episode, for the most part, has not really been that visible on the season. Has this super interesting episode just all over the place.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Stephanie, I mean, she's been on the losing tribe for the past 2 episodes, has been pretty visible all season in terms of confessional count. And yet I just feel to me, it's like I just haven't seen anything from her,
Yeah, I think they gave her the very first confessional in the season, right?
Yeah, that's
And
correct. Yeah.
and what has she done? Who is she vibing with? I guess Chrissy and Jonathan. Now I know that. But yeah, she comes out of nowhere and she wins the entire chimney sweep challenge, which was very impressive. But what's she doing out there? Nobody knows. I mean, and maybe Chrissy is thinking if I am going to win this, it is going to be against, say, Jonathan and Stephanie.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I don't know. I think regardless of who won immunity, I think somehow Chrissy was going to get her way because I don't think Jonathan or Stephanie is necessarily going to want to vote her out. Like I said before, I had confidence once again, especially with retrospect, in being like, I don't think realistically Jonathan would have gone with Camilla and Tiffany, who had just tried to blindside him. I think, especially with all this talk about I'm new and improved on strategic. I talked to Boston Rob. It's like he should have made that decision 99 out of 100 times. And I do think it was the right decision, although very unfortunate for my enjoyment of the season for him to vote out Camilla.
Yeah. But as we've talked about, maybe this is the Chrissy Sans and maybe that's the value in it. But I agree. But also, I don't know, it could blow up in Jonathan's face. I mean, the teaser for next episode kind of hinted that might happen, that people are going to be mad at Jonathan for flipping from this ostensible alliance.
I do think that's likely to happen. I think we're definitely seeing that old era sort of, I don't know, vibe versus the new era vibe sort of colliding slowly but surely. And the interesting thing is that I like is there's a lot more old era than you would expect at this point in the game. Like, sure, Colby just went home, but Jonathan is spiritually old school. Chrissy's spiritually old school. That's a group. Suri and Ozzy have roped in Rizzo. Rizzo's definitely not old school, but he's playing with the old school players, right?
Yeah, and I would say Suri and Ozzy are two examples of old school players that understand and can play new school style.
Yeah, well, like
what the demands are.
And Joe is like the opposite, where he's a new era player who can't not play old school.
Yep.
So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think.
Where would you put Aubrey in that dichotomy?
That's a great question. I think that she is exactly what it is. Is she is an early 30s player. She is not old school. She's not new school. It, like I feel like she gets like what a steal vote and a block vote is. Like she gets that easy, and it's like once you start throwing in knowledge is powers and Billie Eilish boomerang idols, it's like she short circuits a little. So I do think she's truly in between, which I
Yeah.
think is fun.
Yeah.
We'll get to Aubrey, but I have thoughts on Aubrey this season that are interesting. But
I'm sure you do.
I'm I'm pretty bummed out about Camilla going. She was kind of my unofficial winner pick. My true winner pick is Christian, as you know.
Mhm.
But Camilla was the person I was like, I think she's actually gonna win. Like if we're being real, I think she's gonna win. And now she won't because she's gone. So there
She
you
won't.
go.
She won't, and I think that this was enough of a wet blanket of a second season that I doubt she'll be back.
And I think that's so unfortunate. I think she should be back. I just think she's good enough. She's interesting enough. She's fun enough. Like
Mhm.
I would bring her back. I don't know if she's interested in coming back. I would assume that she probably would be interested if you give it like 3 or 4 years. I'm sure she'd be interested. But
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't seem like the type to really take it to heart that like she didn't get far this time
mhm.
around or
Yeah,
whatever.
and I'll say this: it's fun that she called out Jonathan. I think that makes her exit more memorable. Drag him through the mud. I think that's fun. Um, Even if Jonathan did do the right thing, probably for his game, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. Uh, I also liked that she seemed thankful that she just was able to actually play Survivor in a way that she was not able to on 48.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
she did not have to put up this front of honor and integrity this time around. Like that's the funniest thing about Camilla is how much she hated 48 and
yeah.
being on a season that was dominated by the Joe and Eva alliance and how much she just wanted to cutthroat and backstab. And Chrissy saw right through it. She made the argument. She got her out fair and square. Like that one's fine. I don't think Camilla, by the way, feel free to disagree with this. I don't think Camilla was swap screwed the same way that say Genevieve was. And we'll get to Genevieve too.
I mean, definitely not as screwed over as Genevieve was. I think the most I can say to that is it's hard to know for sure. I could see a world where she could be a consensus boot regardless, but it would it would have to be because it's like well she's just the most obvious choice because she's not on the side of most everyone and blah 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 blah. It would
Yeah.
truly just be like I guess we'll do Camilla and not we need to get out Camilla, which I think is a little different. All right, well, let's move on to our next little group here. That does involve the aforementioned uh, Genevieve, and this is an interesting group too. We have Genevieve, Aubrey, Christian, Rick Devens, and Joe. And Christian ends up winning this challenge, so he's safe. And look, from the very beginning, it definitely feels like Genevieve is screwed. But I want to get your thoughts on it. Did you think it was that cut and dry?
It's hard to see it another way looking at this. I
Yeah,
mean, this okay, if the orange group was the Invisa group, this is the Visa group. This
it's true.
is this is a very, very important group of people within the context of this season. And just shall we count the ways and all of the dynamics at play here?
Sure.
We've got uh, Christian and Rick, who are a dynamic duo. They hid their fake idol at tribal council. Ooh, could that come into it? We have Aubrey, who kind of rounds out a big portion of the nerd alliance, along with arguably Emily, who's not on this group. So immediately we have a trio there. We have two different duos, probably the duos that have the most bad blood ever since Rizzo successfully pulled off Operation Bad Blood to get Charlie out.
Mhm.
Those duos being Genevieve and Aubrey and Devens and Joe.
Mhm.
Um, the lines here could not be clearer. I don't know what Genevieve and Joe's relationship has been going into this, but they are an obvious duo here. They have to work together if Genevieve wants to stay in, because Aubrey is going to have it out for her. Um, there was a bit of a flirtation with, well, Rick might have had it out for Joe a little bit, but that seemed to be more of a tactical thing. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. That's my
Yes.
thoughts so far.
But I mean, your dynamics don't even include all the dynamics here. This isn't even to talk about the Aubrey Rick Devens dynamic. Those two played on a season together,
Yeah.
and Rick allegedly gave an idol to Aubrey, which is what everyone believes. But Christian really gave the idol to her, and so that's another sort of connection there that's yet to be developed. Joe and Christian were in an alliance at last check before we moved over, and it's weird because yeah, it felt like the fates intertwined to be like, all right, Genevieve, be thankful you have your shot in the dark. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Because your time is up. I mean, what other, the only, and I'm glad they gave this to us, but the only hope that she had was Nerd Alliance gets too scared of Genevieve playing something, so they vote for Joe instead. And I'm sure Rick would have been happy to have Joe out on an interpersonal level. Strategically, what risk does Joe actually pose to anybody versus what risk does Genevieve pose? I mean, it would have been dumb for them to target Joe, and they didn't. And they did the smart thing.
they did do the smart thing. Um, yeah, I mean, Joe is basically harmless. Like the thing that I see happening in the future is like you get some of these contestants who just have no chance of winning, and then they're all at the end, and then there's like one or two people who are actually capable of winning. Like Chrissy is capable of winning, but I would need to see a real Chrissy surge to believe it. Joe, I think, has no chance of winning. And then you surround them with Aubrey or Christian, and it's like, okay, those are the people who I could actually viably see win.
Yes.
So there you go. But yeah,
The other thing about Joe is like, to your point, he has no chance of winning. He lost on 48 because he played this honor and integrity game that never ever resulted in anything other than like the good graces of other people. Like he never did anything strategic, and in fact, he probably was unaware of what he was doing.
hmm
He ran back the exact same strategy this time. The only difference is it seems like he's less capable than he was before of making connections with people. I think this whole fight that he got into with Devins, I think that was big. And I think that people are like, oh, I don't know that I want to like even try to work with Joe because he's just gonna honor integrity, all the fun out of it.
I do think it says something this episode when Genevieve and Joe are sitting on the beach and they're like, well, they're voting for one of us. Like you would think that Joe would be in on that conversation and be like, yeah, we're all going Genevieve. But I think it says something that even when I'm sure Christian and probably Devins are trying to, at least pretend to work with Joe, that it isn't really that convincing. And Joe knows that even Joe knows he's on the bottom. You know,
Yeah.
I think that says something. Compared to, I mean, you look at Aubrey, and she gets out of what should theoretically be a somewhat similar position to Genevieve, just in terms of the three dudes were on a starting tribe together. Genevieve and Aubrey were not, they were on the other side of these numbers. You would think, just based on the first tribe dynamics, that those two would be at the bottom. But this is what I'm saying about Aubrey. I've been pleasantly surprised by her gameplay so far.
Yeah. So you teased this before. I guess that's the headline is that you're pleasantly surprised, but say more about Aubrey.
I will happily. Look, you know me, you know my thoughts on Aubrey, but for the last 3 seasons she's been on,
For the
I
viewers, by the way, I happen to be aware of the fact that Joey is not a fan of Aubrey on a personal level, and did not have. I thought you don't like her, right?
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
until now.
and
Things have changed.
Joey predicted that Aubrey was going to go home early on.
I look, yes, I thought that Aubrey would go home early because the last returning season we had that wasn't all winners was Edge of Extinction, and she did poorly on that season. And plus, I thought, look, if I'm gonna predict anybody do poorly on this season, I'd rather be someone whose gameplay has not inspired joy within me in the past. You know, she's kind of been a Charlie like figure for me, where it's like, yeah, she's good at the strategy, but I need a little more personality. And I feel like I've gotten that this season. I feel like I've gotten a good mix of the two. And Aubrey, shouts out back in my good graces. I don't know. I like Aubrey this season. She's been really fun, in my personal opinion.
I think the thing that you have to understand about Aubrey's personality is just that she is really neurotic.
Yeah.
She's just a really neurotic person. And I think I'm quite a neurotic person as well. So I relate to her, and I've liked her maybe more so than you have on her previous seasons because that quality is so apparent to me. I mean, in Ko Wrong, she really works through the neuroticism in order to become arguably the big strategic player on that season.
Mhm.
Um, other than Scott and Jason.
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
say what
No,
you
you're
will about
right.
that. They are strategic players.
You're right. You're right. It's a good point. Yeah.
Um, and that same like it was that kind of overcoming adversity thing, like kind of what we've seen like with Emily or with Andy, like these players who really kind of um were bad at first. The thing with Aubrey is then she came back two more times and she reverted back to being bad at the game.
Yeah.
And I am not in any way uh I totally understand why your prospects for her coming into this were low. I like the Charlie comparison because I think that Charlie came back for 50 too soon after 46, you
Hmm.
know? And I
Probably.
think that Aubrey probably came back not once but twice too soon after Korang, or too soon after each of those appearances, and she
Mhm.
wasn't able to fully reset. It seems like Aubrey is sort of reset.
Yes, I would agree with that, which is funny because I think when she first stepped on the island, she wasn't like that at all. She stepped on the island and was like, "What am I doing here again? Why did I do this to myself?" But I
Yeah,
think I
it's
think gradually,
because she's a really neurotic person, and
yeah,
her thing is she gets over her neuroses and starts to play. And she's doing the same thing now that she had done in Korang, only now she has the competition of some of the greatest survivors in the world. But yeah, she's doing a good job.
yeah, and it is funny to compare, like this new tribe dynamic where you have Aubrey with her neuroticism, which she must overcome, versus Christian, who harnesses his neuroticism into a superpower of
Mhm.
charm and charisma and strategic might that, I mean, has got him through every tribal council, every episode he's been to tribal council this season, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that's interesting too, especially with his and Rick's dynamic.
And Devon's, who doesn't have even an ounce of neuroticism to him.
Exactly. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
just he's just a guy who does the news and is media trained out to the wazoo.
Yep.
So
And he's a showman.
yes.
I like that about him.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, it's a very interesting tribe. I love the nerdy alliance. I think that a lot of the Survivor super fans are going to inherently like the nerdy alliance. Um,
Yeah.
although I
I
don't know, do you think that in any way Christian is suffering from overexposure on this
I
season so far?
look, I think so. I do. The comparison that I've been thinking about is probably John Cochran in Karamoan.
Yep.
Just in terms of like, not to say that I think Christian will win, though he was my winner pick to start the season, but just in terms of like, you get a lovable nerd, you bring him back, everyone's like the lovable nerd's back, and then he does a little too well, and you're like, now he's just a nerd.
Yep.
It's not super fun. I mean, well, no, it is super fun. I think it's super fun, but I think the reception believes that having someone just kind of steamroll their way through the game, especially when they're an underdog to start off. I think people feel weird about that. And it's like he has been getting so much of the edit and so many
Yeah.
confessionals. But also he's been to tribal council, I think, every episode still. So
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
not surprised by this.
That's all true. That is all true. And he's a good narrator. I can't fault them for giving him a lot of confessionals. Um, but you know what? This season has a lot of good narrators. I don't see why it has to be Christian all the time. I think that one of the beautiful things about David versus Goliath is he was one amazing character in a tapestry of great characters, you know?
Yes.
And that's the case now too, but you wouldn't know it necessarily with how little of an edit comparatively that some others have gotten. Although
It,
even then, I think Ozzy is ahead of him right now in terms of total confessional count, believe it or
yeah.
not.
But Christian isn't just getting the, confessionals about strategy. He's also getting the confessionals about, pooping his pants and, missing his family. He's getting the whole shebang.
Yeah.
So there you go. Versus Genevieve, who, is our unfortunate victim of this tribe, who was, I feel like, getting mostly strategic confessionals, and we didn't see a lot of her actual personality. So
No.
there
No.
you go.
And that was one of the most compelling things about Genevieve on her first go round was like the dichotomy between this very astute, uh, almost body at times player and this really human person who have felt these things deeply that she was playing in and around.
Yeah, it is kind of funny thinking back in terms of what we were talking about before, which is Genevieve didn't exist for like a few episodes, and then she comes out of nowhere. And as viewers, I know I was like, dang, I guess this woman is just like really strategic. Like she's just all about strategy. And then her end like sort of narrative becomes, but she's not all about strategy. She's a person too. And it's
Mhm.
like that's good. That's a good narrative. And when she comes back, it feels like, okay, here's this complete player. And it's like, from my perspective, it's like, I didn't see enough of her to see where the narrative went from there. And if it was going to go anywhere, it got cut off, before something could happen, before she could play an idol, before she could get her idol back, before she could get out her rival, Aubrey, whatever. We just kind of cut it off too
And
soon.
not to harp on it because I'm sure it's been discussed a million times on your podcast and every other Survivor podcast, but the Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol, what are we doing here? It
I
was
thought, yeah,
it
yeah.
was fun the first time.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah,
It was fun the first time.
yeah,
If it's every single idol this game, it's almost like there are no idols at all.
hmm
And I mean, that's obviously an exaggeration, but Genevieve literally found two idols and there was nothing she could do.
yes, yeah. I mean, Aubrey shouldn't have an idol right now. Would Aubrey
No,
go home if she didn't have an idol? And
maybe.
maybe you don't know. You never know.
Or if it wasn't such a foregone conclusion because it was literally just a 3-2 and ended up being a 4-0 vote, then then at least we could have had a narrative of, oh, this Aubrey Genevieve rivalry is finally coming to a fore. That's not what happened.
No.
It was an unceremonious pagonging, essentially.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. And I think another thing that kind of makes it annoying in its own way is just the idea of like, hey, it's taking away from what we're all watching for, which is to see who a legendary survivor is. I think no matter what, when you have the blood moon, it can make it harder for someone to hide, but it also means that at least one person's going to get screwed over. I would say truly at the end of the day, I would have gone into this saying Camilla got screwed over, but at the end of the day, the only person who really, really, really got screwed over was Genevieve.
Yes.
But even still, it only takes one person to be like, well, Christian, you played a good game, but you benefited a lot from being able to just get rid of Genevieve that easy. You
Hmm.
benefited a lot from Genevieve not being able to have two idols,
Yep.
stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Genevieve, in fact, gave you additional security there by handing an idol to your ally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so yeah, it's really annoying from a viewer's perspective, and this is definitely the part of the episode that annoyed me the most is the knowledge, the futility that Genevieve was going to go home, and there's nothing anybody could do about it.
Yep.
It's just the nature of you got screwed over, and it's not your fault. And it wasn't the first time you got screwed over this season. You got screwed over once, you got screwed over twice more before
Yep.
that with the idols. And
You did
it
the
was
thing that you should have been able to do, which was find idols, and you didn't get to benefit from it at all. I mean, what could she have done differently? Manage her threat level? I don't know that there was a way that she could have done that.
no, I don't think she could have done that. I think at the end of the day, what this teaches someone who's going on Survivor in the new era, assuming that some version of the new era continues, because I assume it will, is that finding an idol is not good. You don't want to find an idol until it's the merge. Because if you find an idol beforehand, you're either going to lose your vote or you're going to send it to someone else. It's dangerous fun, as Jeff would call it, except it's not fun. It's just dangerous.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's a beware advantage with all the beware and none of the advantage.
yeah. Or it's like if you get asked to go on a journey, don't go. You might be like Colby and you might lose your vote and you never get to vote. You know,
Which should we move on to our third
I think that that is a good segue that I just did. So let's move on from the purple to the blue with this tribe, or I guess this group of Sari, Emily, Colby, Coach, and D. And I mean, as we already know, Colby eventually goes home in this little tribe thing. And he didn't really have anything he could do about it. I mean, he could beg, I guess, but he didn't do that. He mostly just said, "Ah, shucks,
Yep.
that them's the breaks, partner." So
It was disappointing because I felt like we almost Colby had been such a dynamic character for the first like 2 episodes of this season. And
mhm.
I was like, wow, the Colbster is back and he's back in a
Yes,
big way.
yes,
And I don't think it's his fault. His foot got injured, like bad,
yeah,
from what I understand, and that literally disabled him in the game, and that's whatever. But yeah, he lost his vote. Do we even know what the mechanism would have been for him to regain his vote?
I think he would have to get through tribal council and then he'd get his vote back.
I see. So you lost your vote for the next tribal council you go to.
Yeah, because he lost the Jenga match against Savannah.
Against Savannah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, that's how it goes, I guess. When 61% of people vote for the twistiest twists to ever twist, there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, how am I supposed to feel? Am I supposed to blame other Survivor fans for saying that they want interesting gameplay on the poll and then being punished for it? You
Yeah.
know,
Right. And the way that production is deflecting and like this is what the fans asked for, it boggles the mind. And
it
in
really
general, I do not get any entertainment value out of a lost vote. I guess it's nice when it happens to somebody I don't like, but the vote is the game, you know?
yeah,
And like that is the one thing that you're supposed to have at your disposal, even when everything else is going poorly for you. Hey, I'm a number, I'm a vote.
yeah.
And I don't, and it changes the math of things. I just don't find it to be an entertaining game dynamic at all.
I really don't either. I just don't get it. I don't get the point. Like I know Jeff has said in the past that like voting is your currency in this game. And I kind of get that. I get that like yeah, it's the one thing you have. Dot dot dot. So why mess with it? Why make it so that voting is something that can be taken away when it's your one agency? When what makes Survivor so cool is the idea that hey, even in the worst case scenario, even when it looks like everything's wrong, you still have your vote. And as long as you get two or three other people to agree, you'll make it through somehow. And
Yep.
with this vote, it makes it impossible for blindsides that should happen to happen. I
Yeah.
mean, imagine if Colby had his vote here. Imagine if he had his vote. I could see a very real world where he, Coach, and Sari team up. Maybe not take out Emily, but like in the world where D loses the challenge, take out D. Like I could see that happening. But because Colby lost his vote, it is actively bad for Coach or Sari to stick up for the person who they want to keep in the game.
Yep.
I guess that's part of just Survivor. Sometimes you gotta just let one let one go into the ether, into the wind. But that doesn't make it any less frustrating for a viewer, especially when it doesn't feel earned.
Yeah. And I think my issue really is with, as you say, how it feels earned or not, because um, what we kind of learned from the exit press was Colby was almost at the point of getting medevaced.
Hmm.
Um, that he had not only overextended his foot, but he had an infection on the same foot
Yeah,
from a totally separate. He actually didn't even know how he had like gotten it. Like he must have punctured the his foot somehow.
sure.
Um, and he was about to get pulled and essentially said, "Hey, um, for dignity's sake, like, can I get voted out instead?" And that's the reason why what appeared to be a somewhat contentious vote at camp between Colby and Coach turned out to be you get to tribal, and it's a Dan the astronaut eulogy.
Yep, yep.
It's
We are saying Colby.
felt to play this game
Yeah,
up until this point for the xth time, and this be your last night. And me as a viewer, I was so confused. I was like, isn't there a chance that it's Coach still?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Coach was on the bottom within this group. It was Sari and D and Emily who were all kind of in alignment, and they have valid reasons to want Coach out.
sure.
Um, Sari was saying stuff like, "Oh, well, Colby's the ringleader; he has more influence," which maybe that's true. I don't know. We didn't
Maybe
really see
that's
that
true,
from
but
Colby.
also Coach was the one saying, "Hey, I'm running this tribe," just like an episode or two ago. So it's hard to know in terms of that. I'll say this. I mean, like this is the one tribal that wasn't an extreme disappointment to me. Though to be fair, looking at the tribe, there isn't really anybody who would go home and I'd be like overjoyed about it. The closest would be Emily, but like I'm higher on D than I think you are, Greg. Coach
Oh,
is
I'm
my all time favorite. Uh,
D's your all-time favorite?
no, coaches,
Coaches.
coaches.
Oh, yes. Um,
Cerie's a legend. Colby's a legend, as Jeff told us. And then Emily has been playing an interesting game too. So it's like we're getting to the point in the season where anybody who goes home is going to be a disappointment, except for like two or three people.
yes, I agree.
So
And for the record, I am also high on D. I think D is certainly overperforming my expectations. I mean, it's one of those things talking about the experience of watching a season versus the memory of it. My memory of that season of 45 is that she was so dominant and
yeah,
that she was so um she ran away with it because that's been the narrative. And and not that the narrative is false, but I forgot the way that it felt to watch D play, which was, oh my god, like this woman could get me to do anything. I would
yeah,
I would do anything for this woman,
yeah, yeah,
And I say that partially because she's very attractive, of course, but like,
sure.
but but no, she actually is such a good interpersonal player, and we've managed to see that side of her a little bit more the last episode or two, and it's been fun. It's been fun to watch. Like, wow, she really is, and somehow she's managed to her threat level too in the midst of all this, which obviously Savannah went home very early. at her first tribal council. Kyle, well, that's a that's a that's
It's a
a
what if.
that's an unknown. But
Yeah,
I thought all the returning winners would immediately have this huge insurmountable threat level. D
sure.
seems to be doing just fine.
That's how I feel. It's like the two people who you would have thought, okay, if they get to emerge, they're going to be immediately targeted. Actually, the three in this situation are probably D, Jonathan, and Rizzo. But I think for all three of them, it's like you need active effort to get rid of them now. It's not going to be a consensus. But Jonathan has the old schoolers behind him. D has the new schoolers behind her. And Rizzo's kind of in between, but he also has an idol and he also has the power of Suri on his side.
Yes, and
So,
I was gonna say I feel like Suri is in that same.
yes, Suri,
Nobody in the preseason press, nobody wanted to let Suri get far.
yeah.
Here she is. She's on the jury, if nothing else.
And she hasn't been a legitimate target since episode 1
Yeah.
when Jenna was like, we need to get her out. And
Yep.
Suri was just kind of like, Suri had one of the worst challenge performances in recent Survivor history. And people still were like, well, she has way more value than Jenna. I don't know what that value is, but it's way more value.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Suri waves the magic wand and bye bye Jenna. And ever since then,
exactly.
it's been smooth sailing for her.
Yeah. So it's really impressive.
Yeah.
To read just the season in general. I think I watched Australia versus the world. I know you did not.
Mm-mm.
And Suri is the same Suri as always in that season. But I mean, the last time I saw her was Game Changers in terms of a real Survivor season. And look, Game Changers, I think, is an underrated season. But I will also say I remember like nothing about Suri from that season until she crosses a balance beam and then she gets voted out by doing nothing wrong.
Yep.
Um, I
Yeah.
don't remember anything
The
else.
most swap screwed player of all time. I saw some commentary online that Genevieve is the second most swap screwed player of all time now. I don't know. I don't know about that, but it's hard to argue with Suri Game Changers being the most.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Regardless, I think in general, Suri's been very good. Like it's just she's so good. It's
Yeah.
like she does the same thing every season to an extent, but it's always so good it doesn't matter. It's
Yep.
like she could do the same thing 10 million times and could make it near the end.
And
Ozzy,
every time she has a confessional, you're like, I get it. It's the same thing that I was talking about with D. It's like,
yeah.
oh, I just inherently like Suri so much.
Hmm.
And it's hard. It would be really hard if I were out there and I saw her doing that to me, the way that she talks to the camera, doing that to me, to not be like, yeah, I'm gonna work with you. I'm gonna
Yeah,
work.
actually you're cool and I can't force myself to dislike you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It actually is interesting now that we're kind of getting to the end of this, thinking about the old schooler players who are still in the game, because they all kind of have that inherent likability, except maybe Stephanie, but like Sari definitely has that. Ozzy, I think, has this. He's made the jury in every season he's played. You could say maybe it's not likability, maybe it is likability, but maybe it's predictability and people being comfortable enough around him.
And I think
Um,
Ozzy is likable this season.
Oh, this season for sure. I think Emily had a whole thing at Tribal Council an episode or two ago where she was like, "I didn't think Ozzy would be cool, but he actually is,"
Yeah.
which I thought was good character development.
Yeah.
And then Coach also, I think, has this sort of inherent fascination that people have with him that makes him all right with sticking around. Maybe it's the pure ridiculousness of like, all right, we don't need to take this guy seriously. But every season he's been on, he's made at least the jury. So I mean,
Yep.
here we are. I think that's interesting for sure. Yeah.
Coach has been fun to watch. Coach is much more self-aware this season than he has ever been before. There's a great moment that happened this episode where I mean, maybe okay, it's not a high bar, but like
I was about to say, yeah.
where he's talking to D, and he's like, "Oh, Emily was throwing your name out," And D's just like, oh, why didn't you tell me? And that's D being great. And later on, Coach is talking to the confessional camera, like, D is so good. She clocked me immediately. Like, why did I say that? I'm not making that mistake again. Like, being able, I think even just being able to recognize in the moment, oh, I just made a bit of a mistake, that's new for Coach.
Yeah. No, that's actually a good point. That's not where I thought you were going with that, but I think it is true that Coach would not recognize his own mistakes immediately, and if he did, he would not talk to the camera about it.
Yeah.
But I think Coach here is more aware in that sense. But at the same time, he's the same guy. Like,
Yes. Yes.
he can pretend to have when Ozzy talks to the Camerons, he says, "I'm a different person from who I was when the last time I played." I believe that, even if it doesn't show up completely in his gameplay. I believe that personally, he has gone through a lot. Coach says, "I am now the water walker," or whatever he said he was, the tide walker.
Tide Walker. Yeah.
And I'm old and I'm wiser now because I walk the tide. And I'm like, all right, man, you have gray hairs now. That's what's going on. You're the same person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're right, but I have also noticed these like subtle differences compared to how he used to play.
Well, that's why it's fun. Every contestant has those. I mean, I'm sure even Tiffany has those, and we haven't seen her at all. But I'm sure if you look back at 46, she probably smiles slightly differently or something. Some tiny change. But
Um, was it a thing from 46, or is this new that Tiffany refers to herself as God's favorite?
I do. I did she do that this episode? I did not notice that
She
at
did.
all.
She
Wow.
did she had a confessional like during or leading up to the Applebee's reward where she's like, "Oh, like I guess God's favorite gets to eat," or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that
Um,
rings a bell. Yeah.
and I was like, is this a sick joke from the editors? Because she has not been the editor's favorite, and they are the gods of
Mm.
Survivor in many ways. And
Or perhaps this is a way to say that Applebee's is Lord. I don't know.
could be
The
the
shark bowl is our modern equivalent of the fish and bread in the basket. Endless. It's endless.
yep,
But yeah.
endless Eucharist now at Applebee's, bottomless Eucharist. Um,
um, yeah, I mean, I didn't remember that at all, but I don't know.
Look it up. It happened. I rewatched the episode. I noticed it on Wednesday, and then I rewatched the episode today, and it's
There you go.
it's hard to believe.
There
But
you
I
go.
think, and I was going to ask you your thoughts on this, but I think that the sudden uptick in Tiffany content is a harbinger of doom for Miss Tiff. I think she might be the next to go, or she might be one of like 7 players that gets voted out next episode.
See, I thought you were about to say something else. I thought you were about to say the uptick of Tiffany confessionals is because people have been complaining about the invisibility of women on this season.
Mm,
Because that's something that I've been seeing online is people are like, what I'm saying is doing something. I'm changing the edit. When I don't, I think that's true maybe like weeks down the road, but I don't think they can make that switch like instantaneously
no,
like that.
no, I don't think so. And maybe if it is the kind of thing where it's just like, oh, like let's get somebody to talk about the Applebee's reward for 15 seconds, we could swap
Sure.
Tiffany in for Stephanie or whatever it is. But um, I think she is not long for this game. I think there's a reason we haven't seen a whole lot of her, and I think that um, the same way that like Camilla was a lot more visible than she had been in the previous episode, and then got voted out this time. I
Yeah.
think the same kind of thing might be happening with Tiffany.
I could totally see it. I also think it's possible just in the sense of like, hey, we're at this point in the season where like everybody's going to start getting some confessionals, but at the end of the day, Tiffany has still really not had any strategic confessionals. And that
Yeah,
can mean one of two things. That could mean either there's a lot of strategic confessionals to come because the game's only just started for her, or she's not really going to get that opportunity. Like Angelina didn't have any strategic confessionals like at all, and she was invisible for most of her time on the season, but had an uptick in maybe the last episode or two.
Yep.
I could see that being the case with Tiffany. The only strategic conversation I know that she had is her being like, Aubrey's cool. Aubrey's actually a player that is notable in this game, and Aubrey's someone I want to work with instead of I am doing this in the game, Tiffany.
It was more it was a character witness for Aubrey.
Yes.
The other thing that I'll note about Tiffany is she, fun fact, is the only player in episode 6 to vote on the wrong side.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. No, I guess that's true. That's true.
Because Joe, either because he saw the writing on the wall or because he actually did get brought in, voted for Genevieve.
Yeah. It's a good point. And also to add on to that point again, not to read too much into the next time on, but we see Tiffany have a seemingly big blow up at Jonathan, them get into an argument. What do I know about what's going on right now? Jonathan right now has numbers and Tiffany doesn't. Just purely theoretically from that last vote. And also, yeah, I think that just makes sense that Tiffany could be a consensus. So I guess that's a good segue to ask you. Do you think Tiffany's going home next episode, or do you think it's going to be someone else?
That's where I'd put my money right now.
Okay.
How about you? How have you been thinking about this?
Well, I have to look through the cast. The way that I've been doing this is kind of, I'll just eliminate people time by time. So I'll start off with the two people on Exile Island, Rizzo and Ozzy. I don't think Rizzo's going home. I think he's too well integrated. He has an idol. I don't think Ozzy's going home. He's also got an idol. Both of them have Suri on their side. Suri will know what's going on and let them know if they have to play an idol. I think moving on to the next sort of section, I could see Jonathan going. I could see Steph going. I could see Tiffany going. I couldn't see Chrissy going.
Yep.
I would say one of those first three there are kind of my headline candidates, just looking at it. And then going here.
To quickly pause on that, I do think it's notable that Tiffany was talking this episode about how much she wants to get out Chrissy. And both of them have kind of been under-edited, but Chrissy has, I think, had a much more favorable edit than Tiffany.
For sure. We got a confessional of Chrissy, breaking down because people don't see her as a human being, basically.
Yep.
Or maybe not a human being, but as a likable human being.
Yeah.
Tiffany, for all I know, she's been at production camp 90% of the time and has popped in to say hello 10% of the time. Like, that's how little we've seen of her. So, and then these four, I think Aubrey's sticking around, Christian's sticking around, Devon's is sticking around. If I could see Joe going, maybe, but I don't know. I feel like Joe's just so much of like a who cares that Joe's here that he will only be a threat to get rid of if he wins like an immunity challenge. And people are like, oh, right, Joe can win immunity challenges. We should get rid of him.
Right.
So I think Joe sticks around too. And then going to this, Cerise's safe. D is safe. I do think D is safe.
Yeah.
Emily's safe. Coach, I will choose to believe is safe. So that brings me back to, again, Jonathan, Stephanie, and Tiffany. And just to be different from you, I'm gonna say Stephanie because I don't know. No, I'm gonna say Jonathan. I'm gonna say Jonathan because Jonathan is inherently more of a threat than Tiffany is.
Mm-hmm. Jonathan would be my second choice, and given that we are seeing this preview of people being very mad at him, I could see something going down there.
Yeah, all it takes is someone being like, Jonathan is someone who flipped, is not trustworthy because of that, and can win challenges. And, he can win at the end, I guess is all you have to say. And then boom, Jonathan, consensus boot. It's a merge of 14 people, still 14 people.
14.
So it's a lot of people. Consensus boots are what happens with giant merges like these, especially when you're finally getting everyone on the same beach for a vote. Everyone just wants to make sure that they're not going to go home. It might be a little different because everyone's going to be on the jury regardless, but I doubt it. I think it's much more likely we see a consensus, and Jonathan, I think, is a very strong one.
Yeah.
And my final question to you is, hey, who's winning? Who do you think is going to win the season at this point? I thought it was Camilla, so now I'm back to square one. So, what do you think? Tell me what you think, Greg, deep within your
Good
soul.
question. If I had to put money on it at this point, I might honestly say Ozzy.
Wow, Oswaldo. Wow.
I can see Oswaldo, Lucifer.
Yeah. Oswaldo Lucifer.
Oswaldo Lucifer. Just kidding. I think you're a very Christ-like man, Ozzy, if you're listening. I think he just might have the sauce this time around.
Yeah.
I think he's playing with the right people, but he's also aware enough of his position in the game. He has some advantages at his disposal.
Yeah.
He has people he's aligned with that are more threatening than himself.
Yeah.
I see a path for him getting to the end and kind of impressing everybody with how aware he was the whole time of what he was doing.
I think that's a really interesting shout. I think my one thing I'd say to that is I do not trust Ozzy at a final tribal council. I don't trust. I mean, the last time Ozzy was at a final tribal council was Cook Islands, and he did almost win. It is true that he almost won, but in retrospect, nobody says, "Man, Ozzy should have won that season."
No,
you know,
right?
And I think part of that is Yule just had a way better final tribal council. The other thing I'd say is it's been a long time since he's been a final tribal council because of that. And since then, he has had his fair share of weird moments at Final Tribal Council, like in Micronesia, where he took his platform to profess his love to Amanda and to be really mad at Parvati that he would possibly take away his time from her. And then South Pacific, where we actually saw in episode 1, where he, rocking pigtails, was like, Coach, I hate you. We should have been at the end together. I should be there and I should have won. Why didn't you let me win? And then in Game Changers, when he was, this is something people forget about, he was the one person who was like, Sarah played a good game, but Brad Culpepper should win. He won a lot of challenges, Now, it was a little more than that.
This is this is the adaptive Ozzy. This is Oswald.
I will say, in Oswaldo's defense for the Game Changers thing, he really hated Sarah, which I think is very valid.
And he's been vindicated in that.
Yes. But either way, I think that this is why I think Ozzy's a really fun character, is because he's always up to something. He's always his ego is always going to manifest itself. I think even this season, even if he's Oscar now, imagine if Coach gets to the end, he's going to bring fireworks if he's on the jury.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I don't have a better answer for right now. All I mean to say is maybe the more accurate question that I'm answering is whose chances do I think have improved the most? Because going into this season, if you had asked me, based on all of the reasons you've laid out, does Ozzy have a chance to win? I would have been like a fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say none. He's not Q. He's not Angelina.
Sure.
But a fraction of a percent.
Hey, look, to give you my thoughts, just thinking about it as we're talking here, like my official answer is still going to remain Christian. I think Christian's probably the person who, even beyond my official answer, I think he has the best chance of winning. He's got the Cochran, Caramel, and edit kind of going for him right now.
Yep.
But my dark horse, the person who I'm like, well, maybe I got to buy into it, could be a person who I would have thought had a fraction of a percent going in, which is the RIZGOD baby, Rizzo. I think for similar reasons, he has a chance. I do. I think, he's got an idol. He's allied with Suri. And the interesting thing that the edit keeps bringing up, And the first few times he did this, I was like, well, this is indicative of Rizzo's going to go home any moment, but he's still here. Is him constantly talking about, hey, nobody's seen my season, so nobody knows how I play. And people who are on returnee seasons always do well. And here I am, I'm starting to think, like, why do we keep seeing that, Greg? Why do we keep seeing that? Is it because possibly for the first time in Survivor history, we have a winner who nobody on the season has seen play before?
Yeah.
I
I think Rizzo's playing an excellent game, and I think it's a solid shout.
Yeah,
I almost think Christian is too obvious of an answer.
that's
Like
why I give Rizzo as my backup, because I'm like, yeah,
he is almost giving more of like a final boss thing,
yeah, I could see that.
or like
For
the
sure.
the Cody to the Jesse.
Hmm. Yeah.
Not that Jesse won, but something
No,
like
but I get you. The guy that the eventual winner has to overcome in order
that.
to, or the main character of the season, because let's be real, Jesse was the main character of that season, and then Gabler happened to win.
Yep.
The main character of the season has to overcome in order to take their rightful place at Final Tribal Council or at the finale or whatever else. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Well, and then the other, I mean, just thinking about the Gabler analogy, it could be that if Christian is not the winner but is the main character, then the actual winner is someone who's pretty quiet. Say an Emily.
I was about to say, Emily's very possible.
Yeah.
People are against the Emily, tells people everything. She's kind of neurotic in her own way. She's a calculated neuroticism, which I think is interesting.
Yep.
But I mean, she finds herself to continue to be in great positions. I mean, she's come kind of close to going home at points, but she's got allies. She's got people who wants to work with her. She's still very close with Ozzy, which
Yep.
means she's close to Sari, which means she's close to Rizzo, which means she's close to D. And by the way, they're on the same season together anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Connected to Christian, connected to Rizzo, or yeah, I already said connected to Rick, I should say.
Yep.
Very well connected.
And none of her little blunders have seemed to do anything but improve her standing.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to work with her.
It's to such an extent that it's like, can you call it a blunder?
Yeah, exactly.
The edit's implying that it's a blunder, but we've seen nothing to actually prove it.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the blood moon. It was bloody, and my God, was it a moon? Let me ask you, do you have any final thoughts on this episode or anything on the season that you just got to get off your chest?
Guys, 39 days. Let's up the episode count a little bit. I mean, it's season 50. Can't CBS extend the Survivor season for even to 15 or 16 episodes? There should be no reason why we need a blood moon. And there should be no reason that if we do have a blood moon, that it happens the way that it did with these random ass groups that make no sense and that we'll never see again.
I can't argue with it.
39 days, whatever. Like I'd love to go back to that. It's probably not going to happen. Let's make it. Yeah, I don't know. Let's draw it out. 15, 16 episodes. It would make such a difference.
I agree. And with that, we can only hope that the rest of the season will be an uptick from here. Because this, I would hope. I mean, frankly, to me, it was one of the most disappointing episodes in Survivor history, just across the board. Just the only thing that would have been worse to me is if Coach went home instead of Colby somehow. Yep. But everything else, it was like, boy, the person who I don't want to go home here is Camilla. Camilla goes home. Boy, I sure hope Genevieve finds a way to get out of this. Nope. And then
Colby. Even Colby, I'm not happy about.
No, I'm not happy about it either.
If the alternative is Coach, whatever. But I'm not happy about seeing Colby go. I like Colby.
Yeah.
I wish Colby hadn't gotten injured, and I wish he had kept his vote, which is not an episode 6 problem. That's an episode.
All of them
problem. But
yeah. Whatever. All right. Well, thank you, Greg, for coming on the show. I appreciate it very much. We will continue to watch the season together. And I will continue to bring you the greatest podcast coverage of Survivor 50 you could ever imagine. So thank you, everybody. Have a great life, and I'll see you next time. All right.
Thanks, Joey.
Bye-bye.